we're going to look at probably one of the most important control flow statements in coding. That is known as the if-then statement or the conditional statement. It's something that you can use to, when you want to give a condition to execute something. Okay, so it tells your program to execute a certain section of code only if a certain test evaluates to be true. So I've opened up a class here. I'm calling it if-then statements. And let's start by illustrating with an example. So I'm going to declare a variable x, and I'm going to initialize it to 5. And now I'm going to open up my if statement. But first, here's what I want to say. I want to say in, just in plain text in English, if x is greater, actually we'll do it like this. If x is greater than 5, then print out your number is greater than 5. Okay, so that's in plain English what I want to do, and now I'm going to look at the code. So how do I start off an if-then statement? So I begin with an if, which is very intuitive. In here, I'm going to have my condition, and my condition in this case is going to be x greater than 5. Okay, now I get into the block of code. So my block of code, notice I'm going to undo that. I put in an open parentheses or curly bracket, and when I pressed enter, I had another one automatically inserted for me, and it indented to the next line. Okay, the syntax of when writing if statements is such that the block of code that's executed is going to be embedded within the curly brackets inside the if block. So if it's greater than 5, if x is greater than 5, I want to say, okay, sysout, your number is greater than 5. So I'm just going to copy this actually and put it here. And that's going to be a bunch of characters. Okay. Okay. Well, let's see if this works. Okay, I'm going to run this, and nothing happens on the console. I have no errors, but nothing happens on the console. Well, why do you think that is? Well, my x value is 5. 5 is not greater than 5. Okay, so this block of code won't execute. However, if I changed my value of x to say 6 and then ran it, I get in my console your number is greater than 5. Let me just magnify that a bit. In fact, if I enter another number like 19, I should get the same thing, and I do. However, if I did negative 19, I get nothing. Okay, so essentially what the if-then statement does is it evaluates what's inside the parentheses here to be true or false. If it's true, then it executes the block of code. If it's not, it basically skips everything inside there and goes to the next line of code, which in this case would be line 12, and you notice that nothing happens. Okay, if I want to actually show this, I can even put something here like say over. Okay, and if I run this, I just get over because again x was negative 19, this all skipped, therefore my program is ended. Well, I mentioned in some previous videos that booleans are powerful variables, and they're powerful for this is one case. Remember, what's inside the parentheses has to evaluate to true or false, and booleans are values that can only be true or false. So let's use a boolean in an example. I'm going to say, is an alien, and I'm going to set it to false. Okay, I'm initializing it to false. So I'm going to use an if statement. If is alien is equal to false, then inside the brackets I'm going to say, let's go sys out and say it is not an alien, A-L-I-N, I-E-N. There we go. So I want to mute this. I'm just going to take this line out for now. So you'll notice something very different here. Inside my condition, what's in between the parentheses, I have a double equal sign. And this is different than the equal sign over here. You may recall that an equal sign in Java assigns a value to the variable. Okay, in here where I have int x equals negative 19, I'm assigning the value of negative 19 to the variable x. So think of x as a container that holds negative 19, but it can change. Think of this isAlien variable as a container, and in this case it contains only one of two values, true or false. In this case it contains the value false. Now here, inside the brackets, the parentheses, I have a double equal sign because what it does is it's saying, okay, the contents of your variable, is it equal to false? Okay, it's not putting false into the variable, it's comparing what's in the variable alien to see whether it's true or false. So if it is false, then you print out is not an alien. In fact, let's run this just to see it work. It is not an alien. Oops, take one space out of there. Okay, but if I had initialized isAlien to true, then this will not run. In fact, I'll get this over business and put it down here just to show that it skips to the next line. I will just get over, okay? Because the value of isAlien is true. By the way, I want you to notice how the variable I named, okay, with a Boolean isAlien, I do that on purpose because if I label the variable isAlien, it automatically, begs the answer yes or no. isAlien, yes, no. And that's some good practice when defining your variables. Okay, make them intuitive, make them so that the reader can, obviously determine maybe the data type from the name of the variable itself. Okay, and yeah, just make them descriptive enough, but not overtly descriptive, so that it's like, an entire sentence to declare one variable or to label one variable. Okay, another thing I want you to notice is that I didn't put a semicolon, by the way, after that line. Okay, that is not how you use the if statement blocks here. Everything is in between the curly brackets. No need for the semicolon, only at the end here, and that's it. By the way, if I did do that, see I did that. Okay, notice there's no error messages here. Let me change this back to false. And let me mute this as well. Okay, so you know what, let's run the program like we did before. Okay, is not an alien, okay, because isAlien was false. But now if I put the semicolon in and then I run it, okay, I get the same thing, but it's actually in a different way. You see, in the first case, it actually did the if-then statement, in this case, without the semicolon. But when I added the semicolon in, it basically read line 15 as, if isAlien is false, just stop there, okay? The rest, these brackets, you can put them anywhere, okay? They don't really do anything. But if alien is false, that doesn't do anything. It just says, okay, this is true. Next. And it doesn't execute the if-then block. Whereas this part, okay, with the inside the curly brackets, it's not replying, it's not part of the if-then part, okay? It is not an alien, it's just printing out on its own, okay, as a separate line of code disconnected from the if part. So you're not going to get an error. You actually get the output in, which is identical, okay, to if it were like I originally had it, but for two very different reasons, okay? And again, good habit to understand. You have to know exactly as best you can, what's coming out in the console and why. Okay, it's not enough for it just to work. You really have to get down to the nuts and bolts.